Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Fun Stuff Friday and I have a little bit of fun stuff, well a lot of a little bit of fun stuff, and I have no idea where it came from. This is a page from Scott Howden's grayscale, first grayscale book, and we will be playing on here with this colossal bag that I received. I received these about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I've been holding on to them because I have no idea where they came from. I did not order them. My husband did not order them. I've talked to a couple of my biggest supporters and they didn't order them for me. So I'm not sure where this came from. There was no information in the box. I haven't received any emails from the company. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm going to move that for now. I have a bag. It is a very big bag. Someone or some company sent me the entirety of the 320 set of the Ohuhu alcohol markers in their full glory. I know there's more than 320 because there's the 36 set of grays, the 36 set of skin tones, and the 2 different pastel sets. So I know I don't have them all, but oh my goodness, there is a lot of markers in here. Yeah, so I did swatch these. I'll show you the swatch. And instead of swatching them together because it is such a large set and I'm not great with alcohol markers, and I wanted to give them a feel before I started playing with them. So I did swatch them on the little cards that come in the set. I put them all in the number order on the cards so they're easier for me to find. So in each area there's a part of the card swatch. And it's a great looking set of pens. I did have a couple of issues with a few different pens, and I'll show you one if I can find it. I think it was this one. Nope. So this is a normal looking one. So this is, and these are the brush and bullet nib. So see the difference between these 2 nibs? So I have a few that have this oddity to the nibs. Now I'm wondering if they put the nib in backwards or if I can push that in. So let's grab my nib tweezers here. I have a pair somewhere. You would think it'd be in here with all my nibs, but it is not. Where is my nib tweezers? Unless my husband stole my nib tweezers for some reason. I know I should have pulled this out first, but meh. So like I said, I have no idea who sent these to me. If you sent these to me, thank you so much. I appreciate it. They have been on my wish list for a while. But with my no buy and that sort of thing, I wasn't going to buy them. And it kind of made me sad when they went on sale and I didn't buy them because I was on a no buy. But if you sent these to me, thank you very, very much. They are appreciated. But I can't find my tweezers. So I'm going to grab my craft tweezers. Now I don't suggest using craft tweezers for this. The tweezers for markers do have specific little things to grab hold of the marker without squishing it. where the craft tweezers do not. So I don't suggest using craft tweezers for it. What about these ones? No, that's a hook tweezer. Nope. All right, well, we'll use these ones. And I'll find my other ones somewhere. They're here somewhere. I know I've used them recently, so I have a set of tweezers here, and I'm just going to pull. Move that just in case it drops. I'm going to throw this down. I'm going to pull this nib out. We're going to turn it around and put it back in. Try not to do that. See, and then you can I'm going to put the lid on this other one. I pushed it in too far. So I'm just going to pull that back out a little bit, maybe. And this is why having that proper pair of tweezers works well, because they grasp on where these slide off because of the amount of ink. So there it is, properly done. So I think some of the nibs have been put in backwards on the pen, because I have a few that are like that, and it's a little annoying. But they can be fixed, and like I said, I will go through and fix the rest of them when I find my nib tweezers. I'll clean off that set of tweezers. They work perfectly fine with them that way. However, some of the nibs are frayed a little bit because they're not meant to be that part of the nib showing. So you can, of course, flip these nibs around. You can also buy new nibs. They do have color refills now. So if you run out of color, you can definitely buy the color. So you're not, you know, they're getting very, very much Copic equivalent. And I didn't have too many issues with the marker bleeding. I did have a couple issues of it bleeding over the lines, but I've had that with Copics too. So let's grab our page, and what we're going to do is, because I can't tell you anything about a marker off of a page, because every marker is going to blend differently. You're going to use different techniques for different areas, things like that, and you're not going to have a full bit of information just by a swatch chart. So we are actually going to color with them. I'm going to start off with the skin tones, and I also do have the pastel tones, but they are brush and chisel. So we're going to start with I'm trying to decide here. I think we're going to start with Soft Sun, which is E160. Of course, you know, it's the furthest away from me. There it is. And we're going to also use let's use a little bit of, just trying to think of the that's the main color. Going to use a little bit of, see, this is where I flounder because I have no idea about colors with this stuff. I use a little bit of nougat. 140. No, is it? Yeah, it's Y140. There it is. And then YR220. Alright, so these are the three colors that we're going to use for the skin. This is the color that we're going to start off with because I want her to have a bit of a tan. So I'm going to do the dark areas. Now this is just straight Neenah cardstock. I haven't used any alcohol marker paper. I did think about it, and I already had this one printed because it's Scott Howden's, one of Scott Howden's pages, and I was thinking about doing it this week if we got to it. And we may continue this on next week with colored pencil, going over it with colored pencil. And she's going to have that ugly duckling stage for a little while. Now, okay, so down here is skin. She has a very low cut blouse on. And then over here. I know this is looking horrible, but it's not bleeding out of the lines. And this was more to test what kind of reactions we're going to have on this Neenah paper. Also, I want to test how much it blends. And I know you've probably seen a ton of alcohol marker pictures done with the Ohuhus, but I've not used them a whole lot other than the pastel tone set that I have. So using the full spectrum and the full set, I want to gauge whether or not they're going to work well, A, with just coloring them straight on Neenah paper. I know Emily colors with them straight on Neenah paper, or if I'm going to have to use the alcohol paper to get a good blend. Alright, the next one we're going to use is E160. And we're going to blend those colors in, softening that edge. So they're blending out okay so far. Be able to tell more when it's dry. And like I said, this is definitely going to be the area where it's not going to look all that great until it's complete. The ugly teenage stages, as it's called. And this is where you need to watch whether or not your markers are going to bleed, is when you start adding color on top of color and blending those together, because the lighter color will move the darker color out of the way as it's blending into it. All right. And if it's going to bleed a whole lot, you will find that it spreads into the other areas. Now, because most of this is darker, I'm going to cover the whole area, and then we'll come back through with the lighter and just blend it out. One thing about alcohol markers is it does go pretty quick once you get your colors picked. Picking colors is not my quickest thing with markers, because the marker will change on the page. So when you look at your swatch chart after it's been dry, the color that's going to be coming off the marker is going to be slightly different than the color on the swatch chart, because the swatch chart is dry where this is not dry. So it will give you a freak out moment while you're doing this. So there's another one that's out a little bit further. This one here is yellowish shade. And we're just going to go over the whole area, blending into those other colors. This one feels a little dry compared to the others. I think it's just because it's a lighter color, just not putting out as much color, so it's looking, I'm pressing harder trying to get color out of it, because, you know, I'm a pencil person. You don't need to press that hard on them. So again, I wanted her to be a little tan. And I think I've accomplished that. I might need a little bit of a darker color in the edges, maybe. I know she looks a little yellow on the screen. But she's honestly not that yellow. We've got a little bit of bleed there and down there onto the leaves. That may just be me not being careful. Again, I'm just blending all those colors together. Excellent. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit. I'm gonna let it dry, so let's let it sit and then we'll come back to the skin if we need to. I'm going to start with Y3. Which is barium yellow. Y10. Y010. Which is primrose. And then just a little tiny bit of Y260 if we need it. Okay, so we're going to do her hair in very light blonde colors. We're going to start off with the primrose. And this is going to be our highlighting color. So I'm just going to blanket. Blanket everything with the primrose. Let's not cover her shirt because I want that to be red. Or dark blue or green. Not quite sure. A dark color for sure. And you probably can barely see this color, but that's okay. We will be going back over it with this color just to blend after we get the other colors in. This is just to give undercoating for the color to blend into afterwards. Okay, so we've got some little strands over here, so we're going to take our bullet nib and we're going to fill those in. The bullet nib works fantastic for flicking hair. So depending upon how thick you want your hair flicks to be, using the bullet nib can be very, very useful in getting that color in there without using too much color. Alright, so the next color that we're going to use is Y3, which is our medium tone. And we're going to use our brush for this. Our dark tone, we'll use the bullet. And I'm following the grayscale. And making sure that the areas I think will have a shadow or a darkness to the hair comparatively because of movement is where I'm going to put this medium tone. Now all this down here is going to have a shadow, both a mixture of the light, the medium tone, and the dark tone in the shadows. So this area here, we're not going to have as much of that primrose showing through as we do the medium tone here, which is barium yellow. And so far, they're doing quite well on the Nina cardstock. I do have a couple of areas where probably user error that they have bled onto other areas that I didn't want them to be on. Of course, make sure that you put something under your page if you're using this on your desktop or on another book or in a book, because these will bleed through. All alcohol markers are going to bleed through. I have a glass mat under my page here, so I'm not too concerned about that bleed through. But we'll take a look at it here in just a minute, just so you can see how much of a bleed through we get. Now these markers, they were on sale on the Ohuhu site a little while ago, and you can get them on Amazon as well. I did not look on Amazon how much they were. I'm still in shock that I received them. I still have no idea who sent them to me. And if you sent them to me, please let me know. I would like to say thank you in person. Um, personally, not in person, but personally, instead of, so much publicly. Like I said, I have asked a couple of friends that I know would possibly send these to me, and they say they did not. If the company sent them to me, again, let me know so that I can let you know what I think of them, and give you my impression. So far, personally, I think that they are one of the better alcohol markers I have. But like I said, I've only used, 6 colors. But they are blending really nicely. And these are the lighter colors, so we will test some of the darker colors as well. Sometimes darker colors have issues with blending with alcohol markers, but we'll try some of the darker colors as well and make sure that they can blend just as easily as the lighter colors. Okay, so that was that one. Now we're going to go in with the darkest color. Like I said, we're going to use our bullet nib for this. And we've got Mr. Choo Choo coming through. The bullet nib does take longer, of course, because it is a smaller area of coloring. But you do get a more precise line. So if you are one that draws, you I think you'd really enjoy the bullet brush nib. Not only do you get your swooping and filling nib, but you get that drawing nib as well, where you can do the finer details. I think I might even need a darker color than this. That was my fault. I just went over that line. That wasn't a bleed, that was a mistake on my part. And mistakes happen, but that's okay. Alright. Like I said, this is going to take a little bit longer than the brush nib because it is a finer point, and you're not going to get the same swooshing, swooping and large area filling movements as you do with a brush. And that's fine because sometimes you just need that fine point. I don't like the chisel nibs for coloring. They do have their place, don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with the chisel nib. They do have their place. I just personally have never found them useful in adult coloring. And like I said, I'm not a pro at markers. I'm not even very proficient in them. I know how to use them. I don't even think I use them well, but I do know how to use them. And I just personally have never enjoyed the chisel nibs. When I found out they had brush nibs, I was all over that. And for the longest time, Copics were the only ones, one of the only ones that had brush nibs. And then other companies started coming out with brush nibs, and I was so happy. But they all have that brush chisel. And when I opened these and they were the brush bullet, I was really surprised. They've been on my wish list forever. But they didn't come off my wish list. So I'm thinking the company sent them to me, but I can't be positive. All right, now we're going to go back over it again with the lightest color here. And we're going to blend all that color together. It's not pencil ready. You don't need to press harder to get more color out of it. And Scott always draws in a very watercolory fashion. So some of the details get lost in the recreation into a drawing. So for example, up here where you can see through that leaf, that's just because he did a lot of watercoloring for his drawings. And when turning a watercolor into a grayscale, you're going to have times where those colors are very translucent, which is going to give you that difference. If that makes any sense at all. All right. Now this area here, I need to go over it with the darker as well. So I wanted her to be an extreme blonde, and that is definitely what she is. She is very blonde. Why I wanted her blonde? I don't know. It's just the color that screamed out at me. Yes, I know her eyes are not done, and they are driving me crazy. So let's do her eyes before they do completely drive me crazy. So we're going to use this one here, which is a pale grayish blue. And we're going to use the brush for this part. So getting into these tiny areas can be difficult when you don't have a bullet. And then I'm going to use aquamarine. And as you can see, having that bullet nib gives me a lot more control on where the medium or darker colors are going. Now we're going to take one more really light color. But a little bit darker. Let's see. Let's take a bit of green. little bit of green blue. Oh, that is the brush. And I'm just putting this green blue in the darkest areas of the eye. And then we're going to take that gray blue again, the pale grayish blue, and we're going to use the bullet, and we're going to blend that in. Like so. Alright, so these bands on her head, we're going to do those. Let's do those in this color here. So we're going to use P1 and P3, which are pastel violet and vivid purple. So we're going to use the brush on pastel violet so that we get the whole area in one good swoop. And then we're going to use the bullet on the vivid purple. And then and come back through with the pastel violet. And I'm going to use the other side. I find that the brush sometimes blends better, but these two colors are not blending as nicely as I would have liked them to. But that's okay. That is a part of the process. Now we're going to do her pink lips here. So we're just going to use RV260, which is just pink, and RV010, which is water lily. So we're going to put down water lily first. Now we're going to put water lily down second. So we're going to put the pink down first. And we may even want to go a little bit darker. Yeah, I'm going to want to go a touch darker than that one. So let's go RV300. Let's see, what is that one? So I just used 260. Let's do 270. 300 is a little too orange. Yeah, that's better. And as you can see, you can get into those smaller areas with the brush, but you have to be a little bit more careful than you do with the bullet. We can probably even go a little bit darker on her lips. RB070. Sakura pink. So this is Sakura pink. Just playing with them, trying to get the right color. Because I want her lips to be pink, but I want them to stand out. I don't want them to be flashy stand out, but stand out enough that they match her coloring. Then we're going to go back over it with let's go over it with Queen Pink, which is RV 130. As you can see, this one's pulled out a little bit as well. There are a few in this set that I'm going to have to either use the way they are until I get new nibs or fix the nibs. There, that's better. I like that better. That's a better. Alright, so lots of different pinks to find the right one. But that's what happens. You know, like I said, sometimes once it's dry, it looks very different. Alright, now we're going to do let's do a butterfly. And this is where we're going to blend some darker colors. So I'm going to take lemon yellow. No, summer lemon. Yeah, summer lemon. And orange. And which one's that? Agate. Okay, and we're going to work backwards here. Because I want the lightest color to blend the darkest colors in together and create that soft coloring for the butterflies, I'm going to go from dark to light. So we're just going to come down with our bullet nib and we're just going to put in some of that dark red orange. I could probably even go a little darker. Of a red. All right. I think I go a little slow for markers sometimes, and that's where my troubles begin. Because I give it too much time to not be wet. And one of the tricks with markers is to ensure that your edges are wet. Now, I do want a little bit brighter red in that, so let's just take this one here, which is geranium. And as you can see, as that color dries, it is a red. It's just a muted red. So I'm just going to come through with a little bit of geranium on the very edge here towards the body. And then we're going to take our orange and we're going to come off that red. like so. And then we're going to take our yellow and we're just going to blend it all together. A bit of yellow here, and yellow up here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to wait until that dries just a little bit, and then we're going to take our black and we're going to use the bullet nib. I'm going to start up here on the edge. And then we're going to take neutral gray 2. Go around the dots. The dots we will do a white gel pen on. And if you go over the dots, don't worry about it. Like I said, we're going to put a white gel pen on them, so you'll be able to see them better. Try to use the very tip of the pen so that you don't get any thick lines, because you don't want thick lines. So using both the, oh, that was the wrong one anyway. Using both the chisel as well as the bullet so far on these pens, they're working out very, very nicely. I'm actually really enjoying having both of them together on the same pen. It gives me the ability to fill in an area very quickly, but also gives me the ability to concentrate in a small area to give detail, which is really nice. I really like that. All right, so I've done hair, I've done skin, and as I can see now that the skin is much drier, it's going to need a little bit of pencil work on top of it just so the grayscale doesn't show through as much, because I chose a really light tanny color for her skin. But they blend together quite nicely. They do bleed through the page, as you can see here. You will definitely get bleed through, so make sure that you have something behind your page when you use them. Other than a couple of different markers having oddities where the nibs look like they're backwards, they're not in there properly. The bullet and the brush nibs are both really nice. They don't seem to be fraying. They are putting down color quite nicely in on the Nina cardstock, which is nice. The only one I didn't have a great time blending was the two pinks and the purple and pink together. And I think it's just because the colors were just so much different and the space that I was blending them was a little bit smaller. But yeah, if you want, and I'll ask you this on Saturday, maybe. Yeah, on Saturday. Tomorrow. If you want, we can continue this next week, and I'll finish it with the Ohuhu markers, and then we'll use the pencils of the week on top. All right, guys, that is my first impressions of the Ohuhu 320 marker set. Yeah, I'm not going to swatch these on the channel because I need to go through and I want to rearrange them in color order, but I'm kind of afraid to rearrange them in color order. So I'm going to use them the way they are now because I have a tendency just to look at the swatch and go, okay, I need that color and grab colors that look like they should be there. I have no idea with markers other than the fact that I am getting better at picking colors and blending them together. So yeah, that is the Ohuhu 320 marker set. It does come with these 4 swatch sheets. It also comes with a mat that you can put behind your page while you're coloring. Of course, a little bit of foam to protect your markers, and this lovely little book here that you can color on, I guess, that tells you all about the markers. It tells you about the different series that are available. This is called the Oha set, which is, nope, that's not the Oha set. That's the wrong set. Hold on a sec. I think it's the Honolulu. Yes, this is the Honolulu set. This is the Honolulu B, which has the bullet nib. And as you can see here, you can pull out and turn around your marker tips. You can also get new ones as well. The 320 set goes to here, so all of this is in the 320 set. And then you can add these ones here. So I still have quite a few that I can add in there, including some skin tones, some gray tones, and the pastel tones. I do have a set of the pastels that are a brush chisel. So here's one of the pastels. This one here is RV030, which is light hot pink, which is right there. And it is a brush and a chisel. Now, let's see if they have it in here, because I thought I saw, yes, they do. Okay, so in here, they also have RV030, which is light hot pink. So go through and check off ones. That's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to go through and check off ones that are in the pastel set that might be in here, because there are some really pastel colors in here as well, such as the RV130. Now, that one. It's like, now which one goes where? So yeah, take a look and see what ones you have in other sets as well, because you may not need, like this one is Viola, and it's Viola right there. So the 48 set that I have might already have the pastel colors, as well as in here have the pastel colors, because here's viola. So the pastel colors that are in here, I may already have. So that's really interesting. I will have to go through and check how many of these are in here that I don't need from here, because there may be quite a few in here that you just don't need to purchase because they're already in here, like mahogany Y12. I just saw it. Maybe it was YR12. Yeah, Y12 mahogany in both sections. So go through, and if you do want to purchase these, I would say purchase the 320 set and then look at whether or not other sets have a crossover. I'm thinking they do. I'm thinking that they have crossover, quite a bit of crossover. Just by looking at the lists. So 320 markers is a lot of markers. I don't think you need much more than that. They do have a really good selection of the skin tones in here, of both the brown skin tones as well as the pale skin tones, like the peachier tones. So as you can see, you've got quite a few peachy tones, including some of the orangey peachy tones, the really light tones there, even more of them here in the reds. And then in your browns, you have some of the darker tan tones and darker skin tones. So I personally don't think you need much more than the 320 set. So I know that there's other colors out there that are supposed to be added to this, but even with the grays, like there's a lot of gray in here, including some green grays, which is awesome, some blue grays, so I don't feel that you really need much more than this set. At least I wouldn't need much more than this set. And I have a ton of markers, and I hate to say it, but a lot of times with markers, even with the Copics, I find that they feel the same. Um, the lack of blendability with some markers depends upon the paper. If you're going to use your markers in inexpensive coloring books, you may find that they don't blend as nicely. If you use your markers on a cardstock, you may find it blends quite well. But if you use it on a marker paper, you may find that it blends absolutely perfectly, and just as well as any of the artist grade like Copic, Spectrum Noir, things like that. You may find that the Cali Arts or the Artezas blend just as well as Copics on regular Copic, or not Copic, but marker paper. So sometimes paper is everything. All right, guys, so far I'm actually really enjoying the Ohuhu markers, and I'm finding that they blend really, really nicely. This is quite dry now, so I'm seeing the blends now where they're not choppy. You don't have that start and stop look in her hair. You have a little bit of in her skin, and I can go over the skin again. I'm seeing the grayscale coming through because of the lightness of the colors I used. But up here in the butterfly, you see the blend, the movement of the color up through the butterfly, which is awesome. So they are doing quite well on the cardstock. So, and again, this is just Nina 65-pound cardstock. All right, guys, with that, yeah, that's the end of Fun Stuff Friday. I will, of course, put it in the mix for what to do next week on working on this page with the markers as well as the colored pencils of the week, or choosing a new page and starting a new page. And we'll deal with that tomorrow. All right, guys, with that, thank you all very much for watching. Of course, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. And of course, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye for now.